This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Jennifer Sonko. Thanks for joining us here at the main news headlines. The new chairman of the Brikama Area Council and his councillors were sworn in on Wednesday as they prepared to take over the running of Brikama Area Council. The Composite Index of Economic Activity of the Central Bank of the Gambia forecast that Gambia's economy will continue to grow to above 4% in 2023 due to several factors. The Public Utilities Regulatory Authority and partners commenced a 2-day training on Wednesday for 40 fuel pump attendants on fire safety and standard operational procedures. The Gambia government is planning to sign an MOU with the Army to cultivate food and vegetables to help combat food inflation, according to the central bank. And in international news, today the 1st June is observed as Global Parents' Day in celebrating and honoring parents. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Jennifer Sonko. Now, the new chairman of the Brikama Area Council and his councillors were sworn in on Wednesday as they prepared to take over the running of Brikama Area Council. There was a promise of hope for the people of the West Coast region by the new chairman. Momodu Kajaga attended, and he passed on this report.
Having been duly elected as chairman in the Brikama Area Council, having been duly elected as chairman in the Brikama Area Council, do swear that I will execute the functions of a chairman. Do swear that I will execute the functions of a chairman without fear or favor, affection or ill will, according to the Local Government Act and the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Affection or ill will, according to the Local Government Act and the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. So help me God. So help me God.
The day was enlivened by music, drumming and dancing, with followers of the newly elected chairman, Yankuba Dabo, and the United Democratic Party enthusiasts in bright yellow attire and in jubilant spirits. The election of the deputy chairman was one of the day's major attractions. Ismaila Jallo, a councillor for Suba Ward, was retained in his position. In his inaugural speech, Yankuba Dabo said, Brikama Area Council must change as an institution.
From the people of West Coast, they yearn and seek for a meaningful change in the operations of this council and the services we deliver to them with regards to their development needs and aspirations. Those Brikama Area Council have to change, must change and needs to change and will change. There cannot be any dispute or denial of the fact that this institution called Brikama Area Council, which many people's hopes and aspirations depend on, is corrupt and ineffective, which had failed our people for the longest of times. This must end and must end now.
Yankuba went on to urge the central government to cooperate with councils to meet people's expectations and needs for development rather than undermining them.
It is not the role of central government to undermine, undercut, suppress or sabotage the local governments for pure political expediency. Thus we implore the central government to be a lot more supportive and complementary to the development goals of this council that I will be heading at the Brikama Area Council, as we are willing to work and cooperate with them to ensure we register progress and prosperity of our people in West Coast.
Usainu Dabo, Secretary General and Party Leader of the United Democratic Party, Rohi Malik Low, Mayor of Banjul, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, the Mayor of KMC, and Landing Sane, chairman-elect of the Mansakonko Area Council, were all present at the ceremony. There are several pressing issues for the Yankuba Dabo-led Brikama Area Council to address in the areas of secondary roads, markets, drainage, and waste management and collection. Umudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Wishing the chairman and the councillors a successful term. Now, the Composite Index of Economic Activity of the Central Bank of the Gambia forecasts that Gambia's economy will continue to grow to above 4% in 2023 due to strong private demand, stable remittance inflows, gradual recovery in tourism and public investment expenditure. Jordan Jai has the rest of that.
The results from the Central Bank's latest business sentiment survey reveals that sentiments of business is improved, and most of the respondents expect higher economic activity in the next 3 months. Respondents also expect business activity to rise in the 3rd quarter to be driven by strong consumer demand. However, inflation expectations remain high, with most of the businesses surveyed expecting higher inflation in the next 3 months.
In the foreign exchange market, volumes of transactions, which is an aggregate of sales and purchases of foreign currency, picked up by 12.8% quarter-on-quarter to $644.1 million in the first 3 months of 2023.
The market continues to be demand-driven, mainly emanating from imports of food, telecommunications, construction materials, and energy. On the other hand, supply benefited from official inflows from development partners, private remittances, gradual recovery in tourist receipts, and cross-border trade receipts. From January to March 2023, the dollar remained relatively stable, depreciating slightly against the US dollar by 1.5%, the euro by 2.2%, and the CFA franc by 1.1%, but appreciating marginally against the British pound by 0.2%.
Governor Saidi also outlined that the government fiscal position improved in the reviewed period despite the challenging economic environment and the rising cost of borrowing.
Preliminary data indicate the budget deficit, including grants, contracted to $2.6 billion, 2.5% of GDP in the first quarter of 2023, from a deficit of $2.9 billion, or 2.7% of GDP in the corresponding period of 2022. Total revenue and grants declined by 9.2% to $4.7 billion, 4.5% of GDP, reflecting the drop in both grants and non-tax revenue.
The stock of domestic debt increased slightly by 1.7% from $38.1 billion in 2022 to $38.8 billion in April 2023. This represents a decline in the debt-to-GDP ratio from 31.5% in 2022 to 27.6% in 2023. For QTV News, I am Julden Yai.
From that, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority and partners commenced a 2-day training on Wednesday for 40 fuel pump attendants on fire safety and standard operational procedures. Lole M. Kamara tells us more.
The 40 fuel pump attendants are drawn from 21 marketing companies in the Greater Banjul area and the West Coast region. The 2-day training seeks to equip them with the knowledge to enhance service delivery, fire safety issues, speed prevention and response, records and documentation, tanker delivery reception procedures, customer care, and handling of first aid safety equipment, amongst other things. Yusufa Diop, The managing director of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority said the models to be discussed have been carefully selected based on their experience in monitoring this sector over the last 7 years.
We believe in continuous training. We believe in capacity building. We believe in continuous development because the sector is evolving. There's always new products, new changes. Also, there's a high turnover in your sector. People are there sometimes just as a stepping stone, after which they got a little income and they are gone to another thing. So you find out a new person comes in instantly, who hasn't undergone any training or is not even conversant with the environment. It's important, even if you are leaving, try to be a responsible citizen and train or guide the new attendant.
Ahmad Jangha, the Assistant Chief Fire Officer, underscores the importance of capacity building trainings for fuel pump attendants.
This has just reminded us that prevention is very key, and in that you can only achieve it when you have competent staff who are knowledgeable and competent in handling operations of such facilities.
Muhammad Haidara, a consultant hired by Pura, highlights the dangers associated with gas stations, which are among the key issues covered by this training. Mr. Haidara encouraged all company owners to do more in-house training. Emmanuel Zahid Silla, sales supervisor at MP Gambia Limited, and Mariama Kujabi from G Energy, respectively, both share their expectations from the training.
It's actually timely. As you all know, safety is a very, very important aspect of petroleum, especially at the retail stations. Most of the time people work in stations, but they don't know how dangerous it is and what could happen at any point in time. So it is very important to have such a training where you get all the attendants to understand what safety measures to take when an emergency happens or here or there.
This is a great day for me, for my company to select me to come and attend this. And these 2 days training, it will give us a lot of experience.
According to the director of Pura, this training is a continuation of similar training courses conducted in provincial Gambia in January this year, as part of their efforts to ensure a competitive and safe downstream petroleum sector. At the end of the training, simulation exercise on firefighting will be conducted for participants to practically understand safety issues, and certificates will be awarded to participants. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
From that story by Lola M. Camara, we will now go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have some more local and international news. To stay with us.
Inco Home Choice. Home Choice. Bagage bu baax mooy def liggéey bu baax te wóor te soo ko jëndee dina la yóbbu ci diir bu yàgg te du gaaw a yàqu. Inco Home Choice ñoo leen indil bépp xeetu bagage yi jumtuwaay yi ngeen mën a jëfandikoo ci seeni métier yi.
waaw ñun Inco fii leen di jëndee suñu bagage yi Inco lañ yombalee bagage yi dañ over baax quality bagage lañ lay jaay moo tax ñun liggéey bu ñoo def electrical plumbing boobu ji Inco fii lañ lay ñëw Brikama ñu jënd suñu bagage ñu bàyyi ko ba ci stand Serekunda fii waaye fii lañ lay ñëwee bagage dina bagage lu waral loolu Inco dañ yombalee bagage number 1 number 2 seen bagage yi dañ over baax dañ over quality
bagage yu si mel ni power tools accessories bench tools generator yu baax welding machines ak small construction equipments muy bagage yu baax yi ngeen mën a jëfandikoo bu ngeen ay samp ay kër.
Because Inco mo fene dila bagage quality sa guarantee bi dila bagage nyasa nimi sa tije ni ta fengo min na Inco ma soto janga man Gambia janga ma soto folo den nga ñoo ma ko akolera nya wonyandi be nga wuli nga na Inco nga bagage sa
seet si leen ñu si suñ maakaan yi nekk ci biir réew mi foofa sa Jinpex Kanifing Sukuta Jabang traffic light ak Brikama opposite Joko night club wala ngeen call ñu ci 532 5773 wala 341 7619 wala 739 8863 wala 303 9300 wala nga email ñu incogambia@gmail.com ak Inco Home Choice jafe-jafe ci wàllu bagage yi ngeen di jëfandikoo ci seen métier yi jeex na. Inco Home Choice. Inco Home Choice.
bu ñu ne dañuy wecc xar xanam dafa war a wuute ak li nga daan gis daxin piir puuj paaj lay doon QTV du ay fodde Tabaski style 2023 bi dafay toj de xoolal ma modèle si ak ni ñu koy tempee ñëwkat yi gën a xarañ ci réew mi la ñu àndal ñu fas yéene indi ay style yu ngeen mësul a gis ren jii yée lépp day wuti li tax mooy Seex Faal day ñëw daal di tàngal bërëb bi waa groupe Daara Lamp Faal yéen a gën a xam Seex Faal ci ambiance waaye ku ci topp borom bëm kan la xanaa attaque waa lii kañ la xanaa ondi neen cuul fële ca Q City juróom-ñaari waxtu lay tàmbali jëm ca kaw waaye di leen fàttalil ticket yi mun ngeen koo amee ci bépp Qcell customer care Kairaba Avenue Turntable Bruce bi ticket $400 VIP $700 mun ngeen a call ci number bi 344 4444 2023 bi dafa nar a ca kes de ñëwkat yi dañoo ñëw pire modèle si dañoo modèle pire QTV day jommale QTV 2023 du yomba de sponsored by Nido.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Jennifer Sonko. Now, Gambia's food inflation increased to 22.1% in April 2023 from 17.5% in January 2023, according to the Central Bank of the Gambia's latest composite index. Against this backdrop, the government is planning to sign an MOU with the army to cultivate food and vegetables to combat food inflation and thereby assist in boosting the economy. Jordan Jai again.
The Gambia has been battling inflation since the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, thus increasing the poverty level, especially for the extreme households. Current figures from the Central Bank of the Gambia indicate that inflationary pressures continue to persist and have become more broad-based than previously anticipated. Price indices of all items in the food basket increased, except for meat, oils, and bread and cereals. Boaz Saidi, the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, says they are devising plans of addressing food inflation.
We are about to sign an MOU with the Army, Memorandum of Understanding. They have about 1,000 hectares of land so that we assist them with resources, and they will be growing rice there and other vegetables. And they have another side where they will be producing poultry, chicken. For us, this is a start. And we are hoping that as we move, we can get from the Army and a sort of an agricultural battalion that will focus on producing agricultural commodities. They will help in boosting food production, and we will be able to feed ourselves. In that regard, we've worked at an arrangement with Afrexim Bank in Cairo so that instead of central banks spending money to buy these agricultural equipments, we can now, they will link us with manufacturers of these agricultural equipments. They send it to us here, Gambia. We'll create a subsidiary company.
Governor Saidi revealed that the central bank has also partnered with the Ministry of Gender and provided finance to the women at a very low interest rate to be able to grow more vegetables, fruits and other food items for the country to be self-sustaining.
Some of my staff, my protocol officer and this particular farmer, they went around the country and spoke to some of these CFOs so that in those regions we can have large quantity, vast area of land in which we will kind of lease from them for 10 years, 20 years. And then in exchange, the people working on that land will be from those communities. And then the net profit not the gross, the net earnings, a certain percentage of that will be given to them.
The report also indicated an increase in non-food inflation to 12.3% from 8.9% over the same period in 2022. The notable increase in non-food inflation can primarily be attributed to the rise in hospitality and electricity prices. Inflationary pressures are projected to persist as domestic and imported cost factors gripped into consumer prices. Coupled with rise in inflation expectations, the bank staff forecasts headline inflation to peak towards the end of the year. If global inflation continues to decelerate and the full effect of monetary policy hits aggregate demand, headline inflation may return to the medium target faster than currently anticipated. For QTV News, I am Julden Jai.
From that story by Julden Jai, we will now take a look at what is happening beyond our borders. Today, the 1st June, is observed as Global Parents' Day in celebrating and honoring parents. Aliu Cisse spoke to some of our QTV colleagues about the importance of being parents.
Global Parents' Day honors and appreciates parents around the world for the selfless commitment and lifelong sacrifice they make for their children. Parents are described as the greatest gift for children as they manifest unconditional love for them. Parents will go the extra mile to provide for their children to put smiles on their faces. On a day such as today, children are encouraged to spend time with their parents and give them gifts to express their gratitude. QTV's reporters and presenters, Julden Jai, Loli M. Kamara, and Mamadou Gajaga of QTV respectively, and Deiso of QTV's programs department, who are all parents, shared their thoughts on the day and how they feel being parents.
Well, it feels great to be a parent, a father of 2 daughters. It's really fantastic. It can't be a better time to be a father than now.
Any challenge, excitement?
Well, excitement, you know, kids are very loving, being together with them, the bond that you share, and knowing that, you know, these are people who are very close and dear to my heart. So I would say it's fantastic. But also, yes, of course, challenges, taking care of them, making sure that, you know, they are in a very good footing and, you know, making sure that, you know, they're disciplined and taking good care of them also. Well, happy Global Parents' Day to every parent, and I wish everybody all the best.
First of all, I will say big thank you to my own parents, my mom and dad, for bringing me up. And then being a parent is one of the most exciting things I can say, because you go through a lot, you learn a lot. There's a lot of things involved in being a parent, because it's like a lifelong thing. It's not easy, it's easy. What makes it difficult is because you have to be there for your kids. You have to make sure they're okay. You have to make sure they get all the things that they need.
I feel very excited, Aliu, that this day is specifically allocated to celebrate parents for their hard work, for their dedication and timeless efforts that they are really doing to make sure that they raise the next generation of leaders across the globe.
And as a mom, also as a worker, I mean, you work here at QTV. I mean, how difficult it is to be a mom and at the same time working?
It's not really, it's a daunting task. Being a mother, being a parent, it's not really easy, because every day you have to, it's a constant job. It's a job that has no break. You from morning to evening, you're working. Is either you're with them physically or spiritually or mentally. You're thinking whether your child is okay, whether he's doing well, whether he is eating, whether he's sick, whether he's that, whether he got all the basic necessities of life. So being a parent is not really easy, because you're there to raise this child. He cannot talk to you, he cannot tell you his needs and aspirations, and he cannot tell you whether he is sick or whether he is not sick. So it's not really an easy task.
As a parent, I will first thank Allah for making me a parent, a young one for that matter. I will say being a parent is the best thing any human being can ever experience. Being mom or dad, especially seeing your child growing up from day one, you know, it's the best thing, it's the best feeling, and I'm wishing every parent a happy World Parent Day.
Since the 1980s, the important role of the family has increasingly come to the attention of the international community. In 2012, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution and proclaimed the 1st of June as Parents' Day to recognize the critical role parents play in the lives of their children. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
Now I feel like I want to become a parent too. Now also in international news, one of Ghana's most celebrated authors, Ama Ata Aidoo, died on Wednesday after a short illness, according to a statement released by her family. She was the first African woman to publish a play, and in 1992 she won the prestigious Commonwealth Writers' Prize. More in this report.
Tributes to her have been coming thick and fast on Twitter since the announcement of her death. One reads, "Our beloved Professor Ama Ata Aidoo has passed away, and what a legacy she has left behind." Another one reads, "Rest in power. Your analysis on how Europe underdeveloped Africa and structural anti-blackness has been instrumental for my intellectual growth. Rest easy, Ama Ata Aidoo." And heart sick about Ama Ata Aidoo today, but also a tidal wave of gratitude for this legend. The tweets go on and on and on. She was a feminist who had a lasting influence on the younger generation of feminists, artists, and African women writers, including Nigeria's award-winning Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who, in a piece in 2011, wrote, and I quote, "When I first discovered Ama Ata Aidoo's work, a slim book on the dusty shelf in our neighbor's study in Suka, I was stunned by the believability of her characters, the sureness of her touch, and what I like to call, in a rather clunky phrase, the validating presence of complex femaleness." End of quote. In Aidoo's fiction, women in general and mothers and daughters in particular occupy center stage. Her characters negotiate the clash between personal expectations and traditional values, but Aidoo never romanticized culture or the past, according to Chimamanda. Aidoo simply bore witness to the realities of the time with the clear-eyed pitilessness of a truth-teller. Her fiction never hits you over the head with any message, but after you have greedily finished each story, you sit back and realize that you have been through an intellectual experience as well. At 15 years old, her teacher asked her what she had planned as a career. She replied, "A poet." "Poetry doesn't feed anyone, Christine," the teacher told her. 4 years later, she won a short story competition organized by a newspaper and used the cash prize to buy a pair of pink shoes she had spotted months earlier and wanted. She was born in 1942 to a father who had opened a first school in their small village in central Ghana. She ended up studying literature at the University of Ghana in Legon, where in 1965 she published her first work, a play titled The Dilemma of a Ghost, making her the first African woman to publish a play. She went on to become a university professor and published plays, short stories, novels, and poems, which were taught in schools and also brought her international awards. Her collection of poems, Someone Talking to Sometime, won the Nelson Mandela Prize for Poetry in 1987. And her novel, Changes, a Love Story, bagged the Commonwealth Writers' Prize for Best African Book in 1992. A decade earlier, in 1982, she was appointed Ghana's Minister of Education, but resigned 18 months later when she could not make education free. Many women saw her as a role model because she had balanced the demands of single motherhood, a teaching career, and writing. She is survived by her daughter, Tina Likimani, also a writer, and with whom she had founded a foundation in Ghana to support African women writers. For QTV News, I am Amadou.
Inspirational. May her soul rest in perfect peace. I'm afraid that is all we have time for in this edition of QTV News. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of our programs.